The Miami Dolphins just concluded the 2018 NFL Draft, adding 8 players, including star Alabama defensive back Minka Fitzpatrick, to this upcoming season. Will that be enough to replace the 5 Pro Bowlers that have left this offseason? We'll talk about that and much more. Welcome to X's and Omar, alongside Sentinel Dolphins columnist Omar Kelly. I'm Matt Lincoln from CBS 12.
Welcome back, Matt.
It's good to be here. It's good to be kind of inside the AC and beautiful confines of the Sun Sentinel. It has been an off-season of comings and goings for these Dolphins. I think lots of Dolphins fans are ready to really put 2017 behind them and look ahead, hopefully, to some optimism in 2018. We're going to really break down a lot of the additions from the draft, but let's talk about some of these players that the Dolphins have added, including defensive end Robert Quinn, offensive lineman Josh Sitton, Daniel Kilgore, another offensive lineman, the receivers in Danny Amendola and Albert Wilson, and of course Frank Gore. Who is going to be the biggest impact player that the Dolphins received in free agency?
Well, you got to start with Robert Quinn. He's the top performer that they've added to the team, trading with the Los Angeles Rams. I think Quinn has the potential to be a difference maker, especially if you pair him with Cameron Wake on passing downs. What I like best about him is that he's able to be consistent in terms of stopping the run. You put him on the same line with a William Hayes, who he played well with in 2016, and you might have something special there. Now, will it make up for the loss of Ndamukong Suh? No, I wouldn't say that. And then also the offensive line. You know, I love my trench play. We'll never have the unicorns back. That was just a moment in time, but I think the addition of Josh Sitton and Daniel Kilgore will help the line become a little bit more consistent and reliable. It should provide the best pocket presence that Ryan Tannehill has had since the Unicorns. And then I like the depth that you have just by adding Sitton and Kilgore. You've got Ted Larson right now, who's sort of in the 6-man role. Sam Young showed you that he can get the job done as a tackle late in the season. And you get Juwan James back with his experience and the pedigree that he has.
Did the Dolphins do enough to adequately replace what they're going to lose with Landry?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would have a hard time saying that it's going to be easy to replace a guy who's led the NFL in receptions for the first 4 years of his career. I like Albert Wilson. I think he's got a dynamic element to it in terms of the run after catch, the quick screens, the quick screen play that I said all of last season, throw it out the playbook because it will never work with this talent. You have the potential to see it actually develop because that's what he can do best. Adam Gase can throw him 30 quick screens a season, and you'll get something from it. So that's a step in the right direction. We all know who Danny Amendola is. He's been one of Tom Brady's many blankies over the years. We know he's going to give you a reliable 40 to 60 receptions a season. My concern is about the age and the durability. Will he be able to physically hold up? That has been one of the concerns that has followed him throughout his NFL career, and he's not very big. He's now old and not very big, so that's a bad combination, but we'll see how it plays out.
What about the major concern coming out of free agency and the draft? What is missing that the Dolphins need?
What is missing? Playmakers, impactful players, guys who can change the game. I would have a hard time telling you right now that the Dolphins have more than 2 playmakers. On my list of playmakers, guys who can change the dynamics of a game, Cameron Wake and Rashad Jones. That's about it. I can't sit here and put Kenyon Drake in that category. As talented as he is, and he is talented, led the NFL in rushing in the final 5 games of the season, despite being the team that actually runs the ball the least. That shows you that there's upside, there's promise, there's potential. The question is, can he bring it out? Now, playmaker potentially, Frank Gore's been a playmaker throughout his career. I'm a huge Frank Gore fan, probably one of the biggest. And I believe even at a vintage age of 35, Frank is still going to be a very talented player. What he has in terms of his lamps, his ability to find running lanes, his ability to maximize the blocks, his ability to catch balls out the backfield, his ability to pass block, that is reliability. There's something to that. And hopefully you have guys in their second year or third year, Xavier Howard, Laramie Tunsil,
Devontae Parker.
Devontae Parker even take that next step. And that's really, truly, Davin Gotcha, that's really, truly what you need from this team. You need guys to take a tremendous step forward in terms of what they can contribute.
All right, of course, this show is all about you. So we're going to take your questions from Twitter. Let's start with Erod. His question is, assuming Ryan Tannehill is healthy for all 16, what do you think will be the biggest concern in 2018?
Wow. To me, it's got to end and start with the trenches. I already told you that I'm comfortable with where they are from an offensive line standpoint. I like the line. I do. Am I comfortable with Daniel Kilgore? Not really, but I like the line. Now, defensively, you let Ndamukong Suh leave because you weren't willing to pay him $17 million a season. Okay, I understand that. Ndamukong Suh was an impactful player, but was he resulting more victories? No. But now you're putting the future of this team in the hands of Jordan Phillips. Yeah. Jordan Phillips, who has contributed 20 tackles a season for the last 3 seasons. That does not make me comfortable from the standpoint you're saying, okay, our season's in the hands of an underproducing player. Now, he's got a ton of talent, but it hasn't been brought out. So that means I'm going to have to put a lot of pressure on Davin Godchow and a lot of pressure on William Hayes, who will probably be moving into the defensive tackle role and playing maybe 30, 40 snaps a season at the age of 34. That makes me a little bit nervous. So I think if there was one thing that I do have concerns about with the Dolphins moving forward, it's their ability to stop the run.
Yeah, I think that even though the Dolphins fans with the most rose-colored glasses, you can be optimistic about the offense. You can be optimistic about Ryan Tannehill coming back. You can be optimistic about some of the talent. The
Devontae Parker's going to deliver.
And Kenyon Drake and new young running back, all those sorts of things. And be excited about the guys on the outside on defense. But I don't know how anyone can be optimistic at all that this is a team that's going to be strong up the middle on defense.
Not just the defensive tackle position, but linebackers. I mean, it's been the Achilles heel of this team for the last, 5-6 years? Mm-hmm. And, yes, you added 2 draft players in the draft, Jerome Baker and Quentin Poles, or however you say his name.
Right.
Poling. But have you really addressed the position adequately? And I know that there's a lot of out-the-box thinking going on and a lot of experimentation that can be done, and Chase Allen can take the next step, and Stephon Anthony can be the player that warranted a first-round pick from New Orleans. But a lot of mystery meat there.
Sure. All right, let's take our next question, and it involves one of those guys as well. It's JGW's. The question is from, are we counting on Raekwon McMillan too much? TJ McDonald looked great in Camp 2. He signed an extension and did not live up to camp production.
My answer would be yes to that. I believe the Dolphins are counting on Raekwon McMillan a little bit too much. From the standpoint, we're not talking about a guy who had first-round talent, who, just so slipped to the second round. And I like Raekwon McMillan. He's an intelligent player. He's got decent, adequate size. My question is the range. Does he have the range? Let's keep in mind, he was not part of the nickel package even before he got injured. And when I watched him in training camp, coverage was not his strong suit. Mm-hmm. Now we're saying, okay, all these mystery tight ends that we don't have an answer to in terms of how we're going to cover them, Raekwon McMillan is going to help us with that standpoint. And he's never played a down in the NFL on defense.
He's basically a rookie.
He's basically a rookie. So you're putting a lot on a rookie's shoulders, especially coming off a knee injury. If we have the same concerns about Ryan Tannehill coming off a knee injury, why shouldn't we have the same concerns about Raekwon McMillan? Why shouldn't there be some, let's pause and not put too much on his plate, but, these are the cards that you're dealt.
All right, let's move on and talk a little bit more about the draft. The NFL draft is like Christmas for these NFL teams, and as the Dolphins sat there 11, they watched for the first time ever in the NFL draft 4 quarterbacks go in the first top 10 picks, and what that meant is one of the best players in the draft fell to them at number 11. So Omar Minka Fitzpatrick is now a member of the Dolphins, and they don't have a quarterback. Was this the right move to take Minka, not trade up, and settle with what they have going forward, Ryan Tannehill?
Absolutely. And from the very beginning, I'm at the Senior Bowl, and the Dolphins are volunteering names of quarterbacks and talking up Baker Mayfield, who I do believe that they had an obsession with, and going to the field to eyeball Josh Allen and talking about, oh, this is going to be a great quarterback class in January. I feel like you were being set up for a letdown in terms of Dolphin fans. And we talked about quarterback tremendously, but what the Dolphins did, in my mind, they would have never drafted Josh Rosen. In my mind, Josh Allen was not the answer. I just don't like his accuracy. But what you do get by talking up these quarterbacks and letting teams know, absolutely, without a doubt, unequivocally, we're going to take a quarterback at 11, is you have teams trade up for him. And that allowed Minka Fitzpatrick to be there when the Dolphins were selecting 11. And Minka Fitzpatrick, to me, is one of the 6 elite players in this draft. There are 6. This was, in my opinion, a very weak draft. People will say, oh, 2013 was a weak draft. And that's great. Yeah, 2013 was pretty bad. But this draft, in my mind, the third day was just a throwaway. You're talking about guys who might be on your practice squad, guys who will be churned out the league in 2 years. Now, I could be wrong. Anybody could be wrong. But I felt like you better make sure that when you walk away from this draft and you look at it 3 years from now, you had a player that says, man, he helped change the trajectory of our franchise. And I believe the Dolphins landed that in Minka Fitzpatrick. I think he has the potential, the upside, pedigree. Look at the the one thing I said about this draft was, okay, I'm not comfortable with this draft, but if you give me every Alabama player, I'll be like, yeah. Because they're going to be ready, they're going to be prepared, they're polished. And this guy's probably the most polished player that Nick Saban has ever produced.
Yeah, and I know you don't watch a ton of college football, but anyone who's watched these big football games, and I don't watch it every Saturday either, people know who Minka Fitzpatrick is because Minka Fitzpatrick has always been out there making big plays in big games. He's been a guy that college football fans and even on the periphery of college football fans know this guy. And the Dolphins don't have. Where are the building blocks? Where are the building blocks?
Absolutely.
And this guy is someone you can build.
He's definitely a building block, somebody you can build around on defense. You know, you put him, let's say Charles Harris takes the next step, and let's say Raekwon McMillan takes the next step, and Xavier Howard takes the next step. With Minka Fitzpatrick, you have a young core of talented players on defense, which is why I think it was a great draft for the Dolphins in terms of the first-round selection.
Okay, so that's the high point. What are the low points from what the Dolphins did? And let's not talk about the day 3 picks because there's no one good to pick from. So what are the low? What's the low here?
To me, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with what the Dolphins did at tight end. Mike Gesicki, the Penn State tight end, taken in the second round, and I'm sure this will become a very popular video at Penn State and his fan base. But I watched this film then, I watched this film now. Tremendous talent athletically, great athlete. If he could probably shoot a basketball, he'd probably be in the NBA. But I don't think he's a football player because I'm looking at the film, and this guy shies away and wants to avoid contact, and you're a tight end. Yeah. That is 50% of your job to do the inline blocking. And there are plays that you're watching. I'm watching Penn State's games, and he's downfield and in position to block for Saquon Barkley, who all he needs is just a little bit, just a little bit, and he's giving you nothing. And to me, that was extremely disappointing. Everybody in the draft process says, great athlete, can't block. Not needs to learn how to block. Right. It's can't block. And yeah, you can teach somebody that, but if you don't have the physical mentality to be tough and physical in football, a tough and physical game, you're not going to last very long. I saw that with Michael Agnew. It wasn't in his heart. Now, I'm not saying Minka Fitzpatrick's going to be Michael Agnew, but I just have concerns about the blocking aspect. Right. And that explains why they drafted Durham Smith in the fourth round. Smite, in the fourth round. You said, okay, we acknowledge guilty. The tight end we just drafted in the second round cannot block, so let's add a blocking tight end. And I agree with the mindset from this standpoint. I said there are two types of tight ends in this draft. They're the athletic guys who can't block, and they're the blockers who aren't great athletes. I would prefer the athletic guy who can't block and hopefully teaches them how to block, but to me, the tight end that Philadelphia picked up, Dallas Goedert, which was drafted a couple of picks below Miami, in the second round, that would have been the direction that I've chose. And maybe 4 years from now, I'll be right. Maybe 4 years from now, I'll be wrong. We'll see.
Get those two guys together, have them, Smythe and Gesicki. Maybe they can rub off on each other a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, let's take our next question. It comes from Mark. You once said before the draft, get the players you have to worry about affording for their second contract.
Yeah.
Do you feel the Dolphins were successful in doing that?
Absolutely. In the first round, you've got a guy who will probably be 4 years from now one of the top 5 highest paid safeties in the NFL if he stays healthy and produces and becomes an impactful player. And in Jerome Baker, I will say this. I'm not really comfortable with what I've seen from him in terms of the film, but athletically, he's got a lot of Telvin Smith in him, and Telvin Smith is one of the highest paid linebackers. If he can get the instincts and begin to fire and read and recognize plays, put that with his 4.4 speed and his 22 reps of 225 pounds, and you might have something special. But the problem is it was not a polished product in college. But then again, who is a polished product in college? But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from him.
I just had another question about Minka. Is free safety in the NFL the best utilization of his talents? Because he could do a lot of different things.
He could do a lot of different things.
Is that the best place to put him?
Yes, because getting to what defensive coaches have always taught me, if they have the hips to play cornerback, they should play cornerback. And I agree with that. Fundamentally, if a guy is the size and physicality to play cornerback like a Patrick Peterson, they have the size to play safety, but they have the hips to play cornerback, they should play cornerback. I don't think Minka Fitzpatrick has the hips to play cornerback, so I'm comfortable with where he is. Now, he can come in immediately. He might not beat out TJ McDonald right away, and he can come in immediately and be your starting nickel.
Right.
So who knows what happens from there, but I definitely think that he is at the best spot as a free safety because I want my free safety to be the last line of defense. I want him to have the range to go get balls and hawk them down, see something, read it, recognize it, and go get it. And he definitely has that talent to do it.
Well, that raises the next question. What's the best lineup in your secondary, having Bobby McCain and one of those two guys out there, or having both of those two guys out there?
I will give you the best lineup in your secondary, especially in your nickel package. And this I've been talking about since the season ended. I was never comfortable with the Rashad Jones, TJ McDonald partnership. They're both strong safeties. They're both in-the-box type of players. Rashad has never played well as a free safety. That's just universal. It's since 2010, every coach has come in here and said, Rashad Jones, I think he could play free safety. Then they realize, he can't play free safety. So to me, you had to get a legitimate free safety, and it was not TJ McDonald. He's big. He's got great size. I would put him in the nickel package with Kiko Alonso. I'd have Bobby McCain as the linebackers. I'd have Bobby McCain in my nickel, Cordrea Tankersley or Tony Lippett and Xavier Howard on the boundaries, and then Minka Fitzpatrick and Rashad Jones. I like that secondary. I like that back seven. Especially if you put the front, have William Hayes on the inside with Davin Godchow and then Charles Harris and Cam Wake rushing. I like that. Hell, let's not even put Davin Godchow on the field. Let's put Robert Quinn on the inside of defensive tackle. Let's go after the quarterback and then have ball hawks back there in the back end.
All right, that sounds good. I hope someone was listening out there. Next question comes from Shreds. Do you think Kalen Ballage could be better than Jay Ajayi?
You know what is interesting about Ballage? I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I was okay with him. It was intriguing. Good size, good speed, great measurables. Never been a featured back at Arizona State. Let's not act like Arizona State's got like a ton of talent.
Right.
Now, he did score 29 touchdowns in his 4 years at Arizona State, and he did give you a lot of good goal line runs, and that certainly is, he catches the ball well. So I think he's a good complementary piece, a Damian Williams type, but Jay Ajayi was a Pro Bowler.
Sure.
Let's be real about who he was. Now, does Jay Ajayi have a future in the NFL past 3 years from now? I doubt it because of the physical style that he plays and his knee history, but you never know. But I definitely think Ballage can give you something in terms of kickoff returning, third down back, catching passes, a young guy that you can develop, for future years. So I'm intrigued. But will he come in here and beat out Frank Gore for the number 2 spot? Frank Gore's a Hall of Famer. Let's be real.
Well, I can't. no one to learn better from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than being under Frank Gore for a little bit. Next question comes from Anil. How will the Finns address the defensive tackle spot between now and the start of the season? Do you think they're done adding? Are they going to get another piece?
They're not. They can't be done adding.
Okay.
Just look at what happened to this defense at the middle of the season when Jordan Phillips got injured, was struggling to get back, and then William Hayes suffered his back injury. This defense sort of fell apart in my mind. I think when William Hayes was gone, that was when you started to see the dominoes fall. I like William Hayes moving inside. They say the back injury that he had is going to help him get better and produce more. And it doesn't concern me that his age doesn't concern me because I think he's been a productive player no matter what. Vincent Taylor, I think he should have played more last season. I think he's a talented rookie, got a lot of promise, got a lot of potential. And then Davin Godchaux, he showed you what he can do, and that was just a little bit of a taste. I think he started to wear down in the fourth quarter of the season, as all rookies do. I think in an off-season program where he can work on his strength and work on his endurance and get better. Because keep in mind, rookies have been training since January. By the time they play in September, January for the draft, so by the time they play in September, they're gassed.
Yeah.
By the time November gets here, they're on fumes, and he was battling a knee injury. I think he'll play better in his second season, but does the Dolphins need more? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. They without a doubt need more. There are a couple of guys who are going to be cut or have been cut. That are veterans out there. I wouldn't be surprised if they added 2 veterans. Who that will be, I have no idea.
The next question comes from Keeb. How many players drafted by the Dolphins in 2018 will be starters or contributors by 2019 and 20?
I definitely think Minka Fitzpatrick is going to start at least half the season right now. Right. Probably moving forward, he's going to be a starter. And one of these tight ends, somehow, some way, unless AJ Derby is just a dynamic player, and there's potential there too.
Sure.
Unless one of these tight ends are going to step up and become a starter. And then Jason Sanders, the kicker that they drafted from New Mexico, he'll likely have to compete and beat out the FAU kicker. The name escapes me at the present moment. But more than likely, he's going to be a starter. So I would say there's a safe bet that there's 3 starters and potentially 4. If Jerome Baker starts to develop and pans out, you might be able to see him elevate himself and become one of those weak side linebackers.
Is the 7th round draft pick on a kicker a waste of a pick?
No, it's not, because here's the situation. If he's an undrafted player, you're going to have to beat somebody in negotiations. Hell, if I'm one of those teams that needs a kicker, why wouldn't I just guarantee $500,000 to a player, in guaranteed contract? And I might not want to do that if I'm the Dolphins, especially if you want a guy to come in here and compete. So this is the kicker that Darren Rizzi wanted. I will say this about the Dolphins. I've been covering Darren Rizzi since the Tony Sperano days. He survived 3 coaching staffs, and every year his unit always delivers no matter what they're going through.
Sure.
If there's anybody that I have confidence in, he says, that's my kicker. I say, all right, Darren. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with his field goal percentage in terms of it's a little bit, as Joe Philbin would say, it makes me queasy. Yeah. However, if Darren Rizzi wants him, and this guy supposedly got a great leg, highest percentage of touchbacks in terms of kickoffs. He can kick a 50-yarder with great distance and great height. Darren Rizzi wants to work it out. Let's work it out.
Sure. I just remember last year we thought we had the Dolphins had a kicker, and then a week before the season they signed Cody Parkey, and you just know that veteran kickers are hanging around.
As Darren Rizzi always says, kickers are competing not with what's on the roster, but with everybody in the NFL.
Sure.
If they don't like what they see from this rookie kicker, there are going to be 32 kickers who are waived at the end of the year, and Darren Rizzi's going to do the best to get the best talent.
All right, let's look ahead now, move on and look ahead a little bit to the 2018 season, and it is coming. Dolphins still have some moves left to make, but an interesting question is, if you're the CEO, Tom Garfinkel, Omar, who is responsible for running the business end of the team? How do you sell this team? How do you get people excited for the 2018 Dolphins?
Ryan Tannehill's coming back. See, that didn't get you. That didn't get you to buy season tickets.
No.
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 Oh, come on, man! Look at the run.
Hey, listen, I'm optimistic.
After the first 5 games,
I'm not coming.
After the first 5 games, Ryan Tannehill ran off a 9-1 record.
Sure.
Or he helped the Dolphins run off a 9-1 record. Ryan Tannehill has talent. He's got upside. Now, we've been waiting for 6 years for it to show up and deliver an impactful quarterback who is top 16. And I think that this is a season. I'm not a huge Ryan Tannehill fan, but I don't have a problem with him.
Right.
Limits turnovers. He takes care of the ball. If he still got his athleticism, which we don't know because of the knee injury, he gives you an added dimension, gives you pocket mobility. He's shown you some pocket presence in terms of he's improved. He's improved on the big play. He's improved. He's working to improve on his leadership. There's hope there.
I don't disagree with any of that.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not
It doesn't sell.
If I haven't bought season tickets before, I'm not buying season tickets now.
They have to win. And to me, what stands in the way of the Miami Dolphins being a winning franchise and a winning organization is coaching. And I say that from this standpoint. Bottom 5 team in terms of sacks produced. Mm-hmm. Bottom 5 team in terms of turnovers produced. To me, that's defensive coaching. Bottom 2 team in terms of most penalized teams. And the number 1 slowest starting team in the NFL. So to me, 2 are on Matt Burke and 2 are on Adam Gase. Adam Gase has purged his coaching staff. He's hired at least 5 new assistants. Clearly, he recognized and identified that coaching was an issue. Getting guys dialed in was an issue. Getting guys to play more discipline was an issue. Hell, he's talking about culture change. Oh, I needed culture change. And what happened in the past is not going to happen again with this organization. He didn't like the way some of the guys who were the better talents went about their business. And right or wrong, you can say whatever you want about Ndamukong Suh. You can say whatever you want about Mike Pouncey. You can say whatever you want about Jarvis Landry. You could say who else got purged?
Lawrence Timmons,
Julius Thomas. You could say whatever you want about those players, but I will say this: in 2016, you went 10-6 with worse talent and the same players. Mm-hmm. In 2017, you lost Ryan Tannehill, added Jay Cutler to the mix, took on a laissez-faire attitude. Mm-hmm. Your team takes on the attitude and personality of your quarterback, and they acted like they didn't care. And something had to change. I get it. And we talked about this when we were doing shows last season. We looked at this team and we're like, the blueprint, something ain't right. Yeah. This isn't going to take you where you need to go. Start over. Okay, well, they did. So now that they did, let's not cry and complain about the lack of talent. What the Dolphins have done to me, and we'll address this. What the Dolphins have done is instead of buying a Mercedes-Benz, which is what they had with Ndamukong Suh and what they would have had with Jarvis Landry and what they had in Mike Pouncey. Instead of paying big salaries on 3 players, they split up those salaries and divided them in 2. Instead of 1 Jarvis Landry, you get Albert Wilson, you get Danny Amendola. Instead of, Ndamukong Suh, you get Robert Quinn, and we really haven't added anybody else. They're going to use the money for Ndamukong Suh to sign their rookie draft class. Instead of, Mike Pouncey, you get Josh Sitton and Daniel Kilgore. Okay. Do you win with talent or do you win with roster depth? I don't know the answer to that.
All right. Do you win with talent or do you win with culture? That's the real question.
I don't buy any of that culture stuff. I hate when the Dolphins say it, and it bothers me because you're telling me that culture was a problem. Okay, so was culture the same problem you had in 2016? Because you didn't have leaders then either. It didn't stop you from being a winning team. You were resilient. You were tough.
That was part of your culture.
That was part of your culture. So all of a sudden, you're now not resilient, not tough.
Right. And it's those players' fault, the same players that were there in 2016?
Exact same players that were there in 2016 leading the way. Now they're the problem. I don't buy any of that culture stuff. You can't sell that over here.
I tried to bring it up. I asked the question multiple times. We saw that culture change. We saw that difference there. And I tried to say, is Ryan Tannehill more important to this team than we want to really talk about? Because
you might be onto something. You might be onto something. And I don't give Ryan a lot of credit on a lot of things, but Ryan might be boring vanilla.
Yeah.
But the reliability of that boring vanilla made people know and think they always had a chance. I don't think they felt that with Jay Cutler. And I think they carried about their business as if it's like, all right, Sunday.
Sure.
Who cares? Like Jay Cutler. It's like,
All right, next question. From AGN. What are your expectations for the Dolphins defense this year?
Ooh, I really don't know what to expect. You improved. Matt Burke, to me, has to do a better job in terms of play calling. And he'll probably be in his feelings about this, but I watched Vance Joseph strategically, schematically call great games with not much talent and made it work. And he masked over a lot of shortcomings on that team, and that defense put them in position to win games late in that stretch, and which explains why he's a head coach. I don't know how long he's going to be a head coach, but it explains why he's a head coach. I don't think Matt Burke put his team in position to be successful last year. And you look at the talent that you have on that team, you should have gotten Xavier Howard to play better. You should have gotten TJ McDonald to play better. You should have gotten Camway played pretty good. Charles Harris. So I'm not a big Charles Harris should have played more kind of guy because it wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And he's a rookie. He's a first-round pick, so you're going to try to keep forcing it. But Kiko Alonso, there's a huge difference between Kiko Alonso before the Baltimore Ravens game and Kiko Alonso after the Baltimore Ravens game. What happened? Why couldn't you coach him out of that funk? Why did he always look like, and he wasn't always the problem, but why did he always look like he was the problem? And Kiko was a much better player than he showed you last season. Matt Burke coached him as a linebacker coach in 2016. You better get Kiko Alonso to play like that player who earned that contract in 2016.
Did Kiko have some sort of psychological issue with the Flacco hit?
I don't know. I remember coming out of that game, and this is the first time I've ever shared this.
Okay.
I remember coming out of that game, and we're all up huddled around Kiko Alonso to talk to him about that hit and the Flacco, and Kiko was clearly rattled. He was clearly rattled, and I remember seeing blood come out his ears, and I'm like, I've never seen that. I don't know what it is, and maybe it's my imagination, but I was like, dude, something's wrong. And he never played the same after that game. And nobody can explain why.
All right. Next question from Tim Tom.
Tim Tom.
Did we just give up on TJ McDonald 6 months after signing him to a big deal with this Minka Fitzpatrick deal? Why should we have any faith in our front office is competent?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Because when they initially signed TJ McDonald to that contract, $24 million, the week before the regular season began.
So the week before his 8-week suspension.
Yeah, the week before his 8-week suspension. I said to myself, huh? Why? What happened here? But then I looked at the contract, and it's a great deal for Miami. You could say whatever you want about him as a talent. He's a starter in the NFL. You have him for this season at $1.5 million. You paid Nate Allen $3 million to suck last year, and you have TJ McDonald for $1.5. Yeah. So basically, you're paying a guy half of what a sorry Nate Allen, half of what an average safety was making. That to me, that's a great deal. And next year, okay, to get him at 1.5, you had to guarantee him $3.6 million next year. I'm sorry, but I could move. It's $5 million total, but $3.6 million of it's guaranteed. I could move TJ McDonald for $3.6 million, but I want to see him play linebacker.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, TJ McDonald is huge. He is the biggest safety I've seen ever in life, and that includes Sean Taylor, who I covered at University of Miami. TJ McDonald, he's legitimately, and I'll be conservative, 227 pounds.
Yeah.
He will be bigger than some of these linebackers that they put on the field. I think he could do it. I honestly, genuinely think he could do that. And he played in the box with the Rams. So you can't tell me. There's film of him playing in the box. So the year you played him with the Dolphins in 2016, he was in the box the whole game. And Joyner played free safety.
Yeah.
So now, clearly, the range might be limited. But I think if you put him at the line of scrimmage and he's there and he's able to jam a tight end and cover him, I think he could do it. I do think he can do it.
And I think, but getting back to what we talked about before, Minka Fitzpatrick at that point, by far the most elite
Oh,
player.
yeah, absolutely.
You had to take him. Next question comes from Noop. Which second-year player on defense do we need or expect to separate from his peers?
They're expecting
All of them? Other than maybe Cordray, but yeah, all of them.
Yeah, Raekwon McMillan has got. I mean, so much is being put on his shoulders right now. If he isn't the player that they think that he is, the whole season is scrapped.
Right.
Hopefully he doesn't suffer a setback from an injury standpoint. Davin Godchaux, he's got to deliver like he's an NFL starter. And he was a pseudo NFL starter last season. Hopefully you can get more than 48 tackles from him in year 2. And I'm not even just going to include the guys who are the second-year guys. Xavier Howard, who is pretty much playing like it's his second year because he barely played his rookie season because of injuries. There's more talent there. There's more meat on the bone. I saw a guy who had the potential, and you saw it too.
Yeah.
2 games with 2 interceptions?
Yeah.
2 games. He could do that every single game. Can he play like that on a consistent basis? Can he stay healthy on a consistent basis? That's what we have to figure out. And then Cordray Tankersley, there was a lot that I liked from what I saw from Cordray Tankersley, but he's going to have to take it to the next level. He's going to have to become a more consistent player. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to be easy to hold off Tony Lippett because as we saw in 2016, Tony Lippett can produce interceptions. And to me, turnovers are the key to winning defense.
All right. So let's go through some final thoughts here. We're still a few months away, but what needs to happen for the Dolphins season to go well in 2018?
Ryan Tannehill has to be a top 15 quarterback.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about production-wise, but he's got to become a leader. He's got to become the guy that everybody looks to. He's got to find a chemistry with a tight end, which he hasn't had since Charles Clay. And he's got to, he's got to be able to help this Dolphins offense start games faster. Because when you start games faster, and this Dolphins defense is built on playing with a lead. Now, why they think that's a right approach to build a defense, playing with a lead, I don't know. Consider I've covered this team for a decade, and they rarely ever have a lead. But if he can give this Dolphins, let's say you score 10 points in the first quarter or be efficient on your first 2 or 3 drives and get 10 points, it could change the nature of the game. And I do believe that if you allow Cam Wake and company to pin their ears back and hunt quarterbacks, you will get a favorable result. But the problem is you're never ever playing with a lead.
Right. Certainly they weren't last year. Next, what can go terribly wrong in 2018 and the whole season is even worse than last year?
Well, there's one particular player which when they start OTA practices that we were invited to on the 11th, you're going to hear a lot of names. Man, Devontae Parker, he's got a lot of talent.
Yeah, right.
Man, Devontae Parker, he could be alpha receiver. Man, Devontae Parker, he's out here dominating.
Right.
And then
Fantasy talk.
Oh my God, everybody's got to get Devontae Parker. And then what usually happens with Devontae Parker is Devontae suffers an injury.
Yeah.
And then Devontae's being brought slowly back from that injury. And then Devontae Parker is 70% of the player that he has the talent to be. Talent, unquestioned. Consistency, durability, major questions. And if we have a Devontae Parker injury setback, it could be trouble for this offense because I know they're deeper now from a receiver standpoint, but keep in mind that all of their receivers are flankers or slots.
Right.
They're about this big, all of them. Kenyon Drake has got a little bit of size to him.
Still.
No, yeah, sorry, wrong one. Kenny Stills has got a little bit of size to him. But to me, you got to have that split end. You got to have that alpha. You got to have that go-to guy where it's like, oh, it's 3rd and 7. Ryan Tannehill knows I could just throw it up to Devontae Parker and give him a chance, and he'll deliver that play. If you can get a healthy Devontae Parker for 12 games, I will never say 16. If you can get a healthy Devontae Parker for 12 games, I think you got a chance.
It'd be nice to have Mike Gesicki kind of wind up being that guy too.
Sure.
Is this a do or die season for Miami's coaches and the front office people who are beginning their 3rd year together? We've talked about the 3-year window over and over again. We're going into year 3. We've had a very good, very promising season, a very bad, very disappointing season. Is this a make or break year?
I think it is a make or break year, not just for everybody involved in terms of the teams, but especially for Mike Tannenbaum. This is going to be his 4th season and running the organization and 5th season in the franchise. From a talent standpoint, what this Dolphins team has done this year was undo everything that he did his first year. So to me, that shows that there's a little bit of concern in terms of the vision. Okay, it's not all of Mike Tannenbaum's fault, because last year Adam Gase advocated for everything that he got, and it delivered a 6-10 record. So certainly he's got to take some blame, but it's a lot easier to find a new vice president of football operations as it is to find a head coach. I think Adam Gase has the talent, the capabilities, the makeup to become a good head coach. I really do. It might not be with his first team, but I do believe he will be a good head coach. Once he learns some of the lessons that probably he's got to get, I think he'll be a good head coach. This is Mike Tannenbaum's second go-around. And you've got to prove to me that you could be good managing the money of this team, which I thought he did well up until he had to pay Jay Cutler $10 million.
Yeah.
And then once you got to write that $10 million check and Adam Gase twisted your arm to do it, it kind of took away your nest egg. And you got to be able to show me that you can identify talent, identify good player. Like, show me you can go get a good defensive tackle. Show me that you could sell a veteran defensive tackle that, hey, Miami is your home. Come here, you can help this team get better, and we can make it work. And I need to see smart decisions being made by this organization. And right now, if I had to make a major criticism, that would be it. And so I think it's a make or break year for him, not necessarily everybody involved. But Steve Ross, bless his heart. The money's always there.
Yeah.
The desire's always there. You could tell he's disappointed in what he's done as the owner of this organization. The record speaks for itself. It's not good enough. The question is, what do you do about it? And consistently, Steve Ross has generally stuck with people too long and then paid the price for it. I think that if there's any time he does something different, it would be this offseason if they don't produce a winning record.
We have a whole full season to go before we worry about that. So we are certainly going to be back before the season starts to preview the 2018 season. And, of course, we're going to be right back after this with X's and Omar overtime. So if you've been sending us questions during the show, we're going to get to them. And if you'd like us to answer something, send it to us right now on Twitter using the hashtag XOmar. You ready for a couple weeks of OTAs and rookie camp and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm excited about seeing the talent that's there. I'm excited about seeing which one of these rookies can play.
All right.
Now, it's hard to evaluate them without pads, but we'll see.
All right, we'll see. Thank you for watching. All right, welcome back to X's and Omar. It's time for overtime. It's time to talk a little bit about some extra questions. People that have been sending us questions the whole time. I really like this one. It's from Faniel. After the draft, who do you think on the current roster is in jeopardy of losing their job? I'm going to get two from you. Who's a starter who could lose their job?
A starting job
is
or,
there
or
a starting job?
Starting job. Oh, clearly it's TJ McDonald.
Okay.
I mean, he's going to have to work really hard to keep his job because, as we know, the rookies and the draft picks, especially the early guys, they're going to be handed things.
Sure.
Never comfortable to me, but that's the way that the NFL works.
And lose a spot. Who's gone?
Who's gone off the team? This is going to be a big year for Mike Hall. They've drafted a young inside linebacker in Quentin Poling. Mike Hall, as we know, scrap. he's going to have to prove and earn his keep. And right now, you know that Michael is just a special teams player.
Right.
And so you're going to have to be dynamic on special teams.
Are we done with Leonte Carew yet?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. Probably.
Yeah.
He's going to have to work extremely hard because, as you know, the wide receiver unit is already 4 deep.
Yeah.
4 deep, then you factor in
the
Jakeem.
Ford, and what about the Ford kid too? Coming maybe?
I don't know. I never saw anything from him when he was
Okay.
healthy. Not Ford, Rashawn Scott.
And Jakeem. What about Jakeem?
Jakeem is clearly here because he's a return specialist right now. Yes, you can have Albert Wilson doing that, but Jakeem, God knows I've counted him out so many times. I've learned to stop counting him out.
Jakeem was who I thought you were.
Jakeem was a scrappy little bugger, and that's not the right word I want to use, but scrappy little bugger. And hey, you've proven to me that you belong in the NFL. Now let's focus on keeping your roster.
Okay. Next one from Justin. What position battle intrigues you the most after this draft? Is there anything other than Minka versus TJ?
Oh, definitely Minka Fitzpatrick and
Yeah.
TJ McDonald. Everybody's going to be watching that. That's nothing surprising. I really do believe that Frank Gore is going to push Kenyon Drake for that starting spot. I really do.
Okay.
I'm a huge Frank Gore fan from the standpoint of what he has. You can't coach,
Right.
And it doesn't go away with age. The vision, the ability to set up blocks and recognize gap. It's like he's a savant. Kenyon Drake does not have that ability. Now, Kenyon Drake has ability to change the game on one single play. But I wouldn't be shocked if you told me right now Frank Gore's your day one starter. I would say, okay, it makes sense to me.
Sure.
Because you're going to have to earn it. And there is a level of uneasiness that Adam Gase and his entire coaching staff has had about Kenyon Drake since day one, and it has not gone away. Mm-hmm. Despite what Kenyon Drake did, he led the NFL in rushing for the final 5 weeks of the season, despite having less carries than just about everybody else in the league.
Yeah.
But coaches still aren't comfortable with it. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea, but until it goes away, he should never feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know.
What would you guess is at this point, what do you think the carry percentage is? Because obviously they're both going to play.
Yes. 60-40.
60-40 Gore.
60-40 Gore. 60-40 Gore. I would definitely play Gore as a third down back, even though Kenyon Drake has proven that he can be a pass blocker.
All right.
We got a question from Jordan. Will all the flexible players, as in hybrid types, will Miami employ various odd looks to perplex the offenses? Ugh. I hate that question because I know Adam Gase will want to be super complicated and super technical and super, I'm going to outsmart everybody. And then what we found the last 2 years, he goes, I got to scale it back. I got to dummy it down. And so, especially when you're trying to do all this stuff with young players, it's hard.
Yeah.
They just, what has Adam Gase complained about the last 2 seasons? That he's got to dummy down his offense. Well, unfortunately, you don't have Peyton Manning running things.
Right.
And get smarter players.
Well, I was going to say Julius Thomas was the smart one, and we
we
saw
saw how well that worked. Here's another question from Tom in Virginia Beach. Do you believe the Dolphins would have taken Josh Rosen if Arizona had not moved up? I absolutely know for a fact that they would not have taken Josh Rosen. They had no interest. They wanted people to think they had interest in Josh Rosen, and it certainly filtered out to me that, hey, Dolphins have interest in Josh Rosen. But I said from the very beginning, it got to me that they did have interest in Josh Rosen after I was like, they don't have interest in Josh Rosen. That I have a good feel for who Adam Gase is, and it's very easy for me to understand who Adam Gase is because we have very similar personalities. It's weird. We like the same players, and there's certain things about players that does not sit well with Adam Gase. Arrogance and entitlement.
Yeah.
Doesn't sit well. That's all Josh Rosen's got. There's an air of arrogance to him that just turns people off. And you saw it. Everybody saw it during the draft. Like, this guy just comes across like a jerk.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would have been an Adam Gase selection.
If Baker fell to 11.
Oh, they would have pounced on that. If Baker fell to 5, they would have traded up.
Really?
If Baker, no doubt in my mind, they would have traded up Baker fell to 5, but that wasn't happening.
Mike asked, was this truly a Greer draft due to the lack of trading?
Good question. There was a little subtle joke that they had in their final exit press conference about having to twist Mike Tannenbaum's hand to not make any trades. I know it had to be killing him. He's made more trades than anybody in the NFL.
Right.
Like, this is just his thing. And they were just like, we kept looking at Mike like, don't do it, Mike, don't do it. And it just wasn't a good draft, so I think they made the best of the situation that they had, but there was no need to trade up and give future assets for anything in this draft, to be honest with you. I have 2 second-guess specials. 2 second-guess specials that I will be judging this draft by in year 3. The fact that you didn't take a defensive tackle, even though there were some pretty good ones out there. R.J. McIntosh from the University of Miami. Yeah. Deshaun Hand from Alabama. Tim Settle from Virginia Tech. Those are 3 that I was just like, they would have beat out some guy. They would have beat out Jordan Phillips in my mind. If those 3 players go on to their teams and become 50-tackle starters, I'd be like,
well, and McIntosh was there when they took Baker, right?
yeah, McIntosh was there for a while.
Yeah, McIntosh was there when they took Baker.
McIntosh was there for a while.
We barely spoke about Baker. Is he? What do you think of him?
Jerome Baker?
Yeah.
Makes me a little nervous. And I understand college players aren't finished products anymore because nobody wants to play college football anymore. If you can get paid for it. Like, guys entered this draft to be 7th-round picks because they just rather get paid to play college football. I mean, get paid to play football. I have to see him on. He's one of those players I have to see on the field. I just can't sit there and say the athleticism will be there, but where's the read and recognition? And I need to see that on film. You don't really see it. Like, once he IDs it, he gets to it quickly. Question is, can he ID it a lot faster? But my other second best special is the tight end that they selected. You had the opportunity to select the second tight end in the draft, and you didn't choose Dallas Goedert, who was drafted by the Eagles. I will forever be measuring Mike Gesicki
against Dallas Goedert.
Against Dallas. So hopefully the Dolphins ended up with the better player, and we don't look at Dallas as a player who's getting a max contract in 4 years.
Trifecta sent us a bunch. Let's do true or false. The healthy return of Raekwon McMillan will make just as great an impact as Minka Fitzpatrick.
True. Probably even greater of an impact because, Raekwon is going to have an opportunity to mix it up a lot more than any of the other guys will. Here's a question from Q Warp. He goes, which late-round picks are you and Matt most excited about? That's a good one.
Late-round picks that the Dolphins made?
Yeah.
We talked about how it's all garbage.
Here's the thing. The cornerback, I can't remember. What is
from Southern Miss?
Yes, from Southern Miss.
Do we have him somewhere?
I literally could only find one game from him, so I can't sit there and tell you that I know what his game is like. So I'm intrigued. But what I did see was he reacts to the ball very quickly. He reacts to plays very quickly, gets to his spots. He's not super handsy. I'm dying to see him. He's the one actually I'm the most intrigued by because I got the least amount of film on him. So I'm very curious to see what he can bring to the table. I don't remember his name at the present moment.
Backs, Balaj, so I'll be
Balaj?
interested to see what Balaj can do. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. I like saying his name too, so that's why I kind of came up.
Kalen Balaj.
Kalen Balaj from Arizona State. All right. Good?
Yeah.
Great.
Good.
Oh, wait, one more. Actually, Chris sent us one. We ended the show by talking about make or breaks and for Tannenbaum. So what's the baseline? What are we measuring?
Winning season.
What is the success?
Winning season.
Winning season.
I mean, Vegas is very good at what they do, and they'll put the Dolphins at over under 7.5.
I remember the fact that they put the Dolphins at 7.5 last year after winning 10 games, and we all went, they're crazy. and God, they knew it.
They know it.
They knew
they'll put them at 7.5 again, and I want to see this team get to 9. I know that's not going to be playoffs more than likely, but I'm sorry. Winning seasons in this organization are very few and far between in this decade, and especially with Steve Ross. He's had 2. Let's make this team a winner and build from there.
Hey,
that's my measure.
We say it every single year. Win the games win your AFC East games. Jets and Bills are starting rookie quarterbacks. That should be 4 wins. If you can get to 4 wins,
just three, and then you,
4 wins,
3, and then you sneak out one with the Patriots at home.
Hey, if you can go 4-2 in the division, then that's setting you up for a
respectable
season. All right.
Just be less penalty prone. Just be a faster starting team, and you will have some potential to make something happen.
Just have Ryan Tannehill be back.
Ryan Tannehill's the answer.
Thanks for watching.